Good.
Well, Jerrod Cunningham, welcome to Radio Oz. We've been wanting to do
What's
this
up?
for what, 3 years, something like that, almost.
It's been a minute.
Oh, but life happens, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and I can that's what I worry about. People that are my followers and subscribers that are like, he's lying. No, life has been lifing.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, well, introduce yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah. No problem. I am Jerrod Cunningham, and
With
I
an E.
am
With an E.
yes, yes. I spell it correctly. There is another Jerrod Cunningham in the Christian rock world, and he
Yep, I
spells it
know.
wrong.
I've known him. I've known him and his dad. What, almost 6 years, probably.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we met at a striper show.
I,
So,
I I think I met him back in 22, maybe. So about 4 years or so. But yeah, good guy.
yeah.
Played some
Anyway,
shows with him.
yeah, yeah. All right.
So
Anyways, back to the like, at hand.
introductions, yeah. So I am invited here because I happen to be the vocalist of two bands. Uh, the first is I am the Pendragon. First, as in I founded that band back in 2010, and so I've been doing that one now for 16 years. But about 3 years ago, I joined a second band down in Oklahoma. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, but the other band's based in Oklahoma near Tulsa and is known as 13 Minutes. So I've been with those guys since 2023.
Awesome. It's like I said in my post earlier. When we found out you were joining the band, I was like, this is going to be cool. This is going to be cool. I mean, similar in styles, but different in its own way. I
Hmm.
mean, so going back to I am the Pendragon. I mentioned this in one of my posts leading up to this interview. There's a story there that
Yeah.
you have to be a fan like myself, and you still have to dig because it's like he's did some stuff that nobody really thinks about, especially in the Christian scene. You do
Yeah.
have people do concept albums all the time, but you've done two EPs and two full lengths with this story,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So let's discuss that story for a little bit. Tell
Yeah.
explain to the people what the story is. I mean, you don't have to go into detail about this. You can say some stuff about the lyrics, where the lyrics lead between albums, but you
Yeah.
don't have to go into an hour-long story explaining the story unless you
Oh
want to.
yeah. Yeah. I'll give you guys the abridged version. Uh, Basically, it's a sci-fi western end of the world parable. So that is the genre, subgenre, sub-subgenre that it would fall under, and that is basically it's a fictional story with in a one world government. Think like kind of like Firefly, kind of like Star Wars. That's the sci-fi western style. So you have like these big science fiction, spacey looking kind of cities, and then desert places, and there's lots of poor people, lots of like people on the fringes and the outskirts, and so there's this vast chasm of prosperity and poverty, and that's like everybody outside of this capital. And the main character, he actually starts from inside of that system in the capital, and they have long ago gotten rid of all religions, kind of forcefully, and through politics and through influence and through media and all this kind of stuff. But they've rid the world of religion and instead instilled basically what is humanism, uh, materialistic humanism, where it's all like, about us, and we are the center of the universe, and we are inherently good. and we just need to all help each other and get along, like the utopic vision. And so that's the capital. He grows up in that system, and he finds a book that is actually should have been burned and destroyed a long time ago. But he comes across this book that seems to be telling an alternate history, and that leads him on a path of exploration and discovery. He leaves the capital and goes out to find what is true. And based off of what he's read in this book, and he finds a group of people in a place called the Remnant Valley, and they're just trying to live off the grid in kind of like a community and support each other, but hide away from the capital, hide away from the empire. And he thinks he's found a home, and they tell him like, hey, we can tell you what this book is. And they're followers of the way, and so they begin to teach him and disciple him in it, and he grows in the community. But there's also a supernatural element to all of it, where at different points there's interventions happening on his behalf. There's God speaking to him through dreams. There's occurrences of kind of like manifestations of power that he doesn't have on his own. And then he, as he's basically building a new life for himself in this, the Remnant Valley, the capital, he used to work as an apprentice priest in this humanist temple, basically, and they're really propaganda ministers, and so that's what he used to be. Then people start asking about him and wanting to follow him, and so they decide like they have to find him and basically kill him and end the mystery and say, oh, he went out in the desert and died, and that's what happens when you leave. So they hunt him down, they track him down, and they find the people in the valley, and they attack it, and it's burning. And again, he has like this manifestation of power that's not his own. The guy who had been discipling him is killed in the altercations, but he tells him, like, if you want to find the truth, you need to go. There's a cave at the top of the mountain that the valley is hiding behind, and you need to go to that cave, and you'll find everything you need to know there. So he goes to the mountain and basically has an encounter with God and comes back changed. And that is the story of the first album. There's, like I said, that's a bridge. There's a lot of different characters and all that, but that's the first album. Second album, is the Castle of Lost Hope. They are rebuilding, and as they're going out, they're starting to recruit people, and they recognize like the capital is not going to leave us alone. They're going to come back. So they start recruiting people and basically proselytizing, evangelizing. And the people that found them return again. They wait for them to leave. They return again. They steal their women and children and take them back, and are holding them as hostages in a dungeon in a place called the Castle of Lost Hope. And so that album is really the story of them, first off in mourning and sadness and despair, and then regrouping, gathering the men up, going out to get their families back. And they get there, but in the battle, they're deceived. They end up getting captured themselves, and they think all hope is lost. And once again, God intervenes. He meets them in the dungeon and leads them out like it's a dream. They're just walking through, and then they come out of it and realize they have been freed, and they set the castle on fire as they're leaving, so that they can't track them down and they can't kidnap their families again, and they walk away in victory, praising God. And then that leads us to the upcoming album, Titans. So there's this back and forth that's been going on between the capital and the Remnant Valley, and now both sides are amassing forces. The Remnant Valley is building an army, and they're doing that through just telling people the truth. And as people are learning and hearing and recognizing the evils of the empire from the outside, they begin to come and join the cause. In the empire, they are building these giant mechs, mechanical military machines. So think of like a supermassive robot tank called Titans. And these Titans, they can carry entire regiments of military troops. They can also have like flying vehicles and road vehicles that are carried with them and stuff. So these things are massive. And they're giant war machines, and they're powered by something called light eater tech. And that is basically their equivalent of solar energy, but in their universe, their planet is every year as it cycles around the sun, it's being drawn closer to the sun. And in their universe, the sun is actually where God dwells. That is their heaven. And so they understand it as we are coming closer to the sun, and that means God will be returning soon. But the capital people, they understand this as like, oh, it's going to kill everybody. And the emperor, who is basically the devil, he's the antichrist character of the story, he develops this light eater technology that draws power from the sun through solar energy while using a repulsor ray to keep it at a distance. So they've locked the orbit of their planet in place, so only one side of the planet gets sun anymore, and so that obviously causes problems for everybody outside of the capital. And so they're using that technology to power these Titans. The Titans are actually giant vessels, mechanical vessels for the fallen gods of the past, the demon spirits, and they become possessed, but the people don't realize it. They're building giant idols that these demons can possess, and they don't understand what they're doing. And so they end up going to war, and shenanigans ensue. And that is the third album that's about to come out. So, which actually, I think you already have that one, don't you?
Yeah, got the pre-release.
Yeah. So you got the full album before everybody else. So the ending of that part of the story. But for everybody else, they still got to wait a little bit.
So, talking about this, I mean, this is beyond what, like I said, most bands do they just do a concept album. Every once in a while, you'll see a band like Dream Theater or somebody do a couple albums. But have you ever? I know you're an artist. We've talked about that on a personal level before in person. Have you ever thought about doing a graphic novel to the story?
That has been part of my dream and part of my plan from the time that I started the band. And I actually have even like pages of it drawn up and like actual comic print pages done for it. But that is a very laborious task. And so I ended up kind of shelving that as I was, my son was born, my oldest son was born right when I started the band. And so when he was young, I had a little bit more free time as far as like, when he's taking naps, I can draw and I can work on stuff. And then as we just kept having more kids and my kids are growing up, right now I'm actually sitting in my car. I just dropped my second son off here at wrestling practice. And so I'm out in the car doing this. And so
hopefully you're staying warm. Because here in Louisville right now, we got snow rain mix at I think it was right at about freezing. So
that was us last week. It was
we got that still from last week too. We got leftover from last week. Yeah.
Yep. This week we got kind of a warm spell. Today wasn't great, but The rest of the week it's supposed to get up to the 40s, and
Yeah,
so
we're supposed
everybody's
to
real
see that
happy.
early next week. Hopefully that'll mellow
Yeah,
off what we've got. But we were supposed to get 12 to 15. We ended up with 6.5.
oh yeah, and it's the slushy stuff that you can't do anything with. It's
Yeah, and
terrible.
that's what it is tonight for sure.
Hmm.
So, well,
So yeah, just as like,
that's always interested me with you. I think that's what grabbed my attention. First off, was the
yeah,
story arc. You know,
yeah,
and a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people don't. They listen. I mean, that's the bad thing with now having to release singles. You
mm,
know, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, I'm one. I mean, I grew up with Pink Floyd, The Wall. I wore out the Dark Side of the Moon. It's my all-time favorite album.
oh nice,
So, so those albums prepare me for stories. You know,
yeah,
so and then always loved a good concept album. I mean, POD did one a few years ago, and
hmm,
it flopped because people didn't understand it.
yeah,
You know, and it's because people unfortunately have got short attention spans today. I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We actually ran into some of that when the Castle of Lost Hope came out. That was our first label release. So that was the first time that a lot of people ever heard about us. Didn't realize there was a whole first album that was establishing the story and characters and stuff. And a few people recognized, oh, this is a concept album. There's a story going on here. But they felt like I got some reviews on it from like bloggers and some pretty big people reviewing music, and they're like, yeah, it feels like you're just kind of thrown into the middle of a story, and then it also feels like, it doesn't wrap everything up at the end, and it's kind of like, well, everything's still unclear about what the next step is, and like where's the conclusion. I was like, that's because it is the middle of a story. Like
Right.
it's hard enough to have a concept album and get people to grasp, like, oh, this is a through line. Project 86 did one, Knives to the Future,
Right. Right.
and
Yep.
and that was great. And then they did a double with the Omni, which is now, I guess, turning into a triple.
Yeah.
Uh, so I am looking forward to that.
I've
But
been a P86 fan since the beginning. So when they were rapcore,
yes,
so
yes, I didn't get my hands on their first album when it was initially released, but my entry into uh, heavy music, and especially Christian heavy music, was Project 86 on a sampler CD called what was it called? Cheapskates, the
Cheapskates,
harder
harder
side.
side. Yep.
Yep, and it had the Drawing Black Lines, and that song, I was like, "What is this?" I'd never heard anything like it, and now I'm here. So it's all
Yeah.
due to that sampler CD.
I got privy to have I've got a pre-release of the first album, which just got an extra song that wasn't ever released elsewhere.
Awesome.
So, but that's back in my days when I mean, I've been in and out of the scene for 30, almost 40 years. So,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot come, seen a lot go. I've seen some good, I've seen some bad, I've seen the ugly.
Mm.
You know, we're seeing more ugly lately with some of the bands that I've worked with back in the day that blows my mind. I won't get into it.
Mm.
We won't discuss that because that's a whole different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
That's hearsay. It's hearsay, but it's not hearsay. Put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so you're going back to your influences. You say P86 in the Christian scene. What else?
Hmm.
Who are some of your other influences?
Man, my first influence towards rock music, I was always drawn towards it, and the very first introduction for me that just was like, I love this, was I'm thinking of the wrong name now, but Blaze of Glory by Bon Jovi was
Okay,
my,
I would not
that
have seen
was
that.
that was my first thing, and it was because uh Bon Jovi did the soundtrack for Young Guns 2
Right.
and made that song for the movie. And so I would fast forward on the VHS. I would fast forward the movie because after the credits they had the music video. And so I used to go at my aunt's house, and she had a copy of it, and I would just watch it every time we go over because I thought that song was awesome.
It is a
And
good
another
song.
one, oh yeah, another one for me that was in that same time period, what and also introduced through movies, was God Gave Rock and Roll to You, but the Kiss version that is played in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And that's really how I was introduced to this stuff, was because it was in movies. When I was growing up, my mom a lot of times wouldn't allow us to have listen to secular music, wouldn't let us listen to secular radio. And so there was a good amount of time where I just thought I didn't like music because it was like gospel stuff, and it was like CCM and things like that. And people would ask me like, so what kind of music do you like though? And I'd say, well, I like rock music. And they go, like, yeah, like DC Talk. And I was like, no, not like DC Talk. Like Carmen. Like, those were as good as it got for me. Those were the closest thing, but it was never like, oh, I love listening to music. It was like, if I'm going to listen to stuff, that's as good as it gets. But then I went to a youth group, and they gave me that sampler CD my first night there, and that completely opened the doors. And I found on that sampler, it was Project 86, One Arm Man was the song on there.
Yeah.
And then they had Zayo, they had Goatee Hook, they had a bunch of these
They were a fun
bands.
concert. They were a fun concert. Go to
Oh
go.
gosh, yeah.
Banana
And
Man.
that blew the doors wide open. And so I just dove in, and I got really into Thousand Foot Crutch. I really loved like Skillet from Alien Youth, Invincible era up through uh, the Comatose era, I believe. That was when
The mid
I just
era.
really,
Yeah, the
yeah,
mid era.
yeah, that was my favorite. And then I really loved POD. They were blowing up when I was just starting to get into music again, and so I listened to POD all the time. Satellite is
POD is,
still,
yeah.
oh,
I've been a fan of POD since '94. I've got Stuff the Punk original pressing demo. Yeah,
Snuff the Punk, yeah,
Stuff the Punk. I love that album. I mean, those. I mean, for their time period, they were so different.
yes,
Because they were hardcore, but they had the rap core, but then they had reggae, then they had punk.
reggae,
They had a little bit
hmm
everything. Sunny Dread. Have you heard that yet?
hmm
I mean, you knew that was coming sometime. You knew that was coming
yeah,
sometime.
yeah,
But yeah, POD's been probably. I said that's probably them. Do you know who Stave Zaker is?
yes,
Okay, that's my two bands out of the '90s that I still
mm,
love. I'll pull them out today. I'll pull them out today and throw them in the car of
yeah,
that era, the '90s era, and leading into before POD got signed, and then when they blew up, and then then like we're talking about the albums that nobody knows, even though they've been
mm,
touring for almost continually
yeah,
for 30 years, 30 almost 35 years. A lot of people don't realize that they don't
hmm
stop. You
yeah,
know, and they still put out quality albums, but they're so far now underground.
mm,
Nobody realizes they're still there
yeah.
until they go to a show and see them.
They came through Omaha. Gosh, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and they were playing at a little club here, and I didn't hear about it until the day of the show. Like, that's how little it was covered, and like there was nothing online about it. Couldn't find anything about it, but it was just like I got a random ad that came up on Facebook or something, and it was like POD live in concert. I was like, this is a lie,
Right.
and I was like, there's no way. Like, I would have known about this, but I didn't. And the same thing happened with Blindside when they toured I think this was their last U.S. tour when they did the with Shivering Hearts We Wait
Oh
album,
man,
and
yeah, I've
it
never got
was
to
the
see
same thing.
Blindside. I love
Oh,
Blindside too. I never got to see them.
oh, that was I just happened to hear on the radio because at by that point I already had like an iPod or whatever it was at the time, MP3 player. So I would only hear the radio as long as it took me to connect the iPod and switch it over when I'd start the car up. So I never listened to the radio, but
I
it
still
was
don't.
in that, yeah, that little 20 seconds of like, all right, let me plug it in real quick. They said, and Swedish band Blindside is going to be playing at Sokol Underground tonight. For reference, Pendragon used to play Sokol Underground. So I was like, no, no way. That's insane. They're not playing Sokol
Especially in the
Underground. I
middle of
looked it up.
Nebraska.
Yep. And it was yeah, they were playing Sokol Underground right down there in Omaha. And I called a couple of my buddies. I was like, dude, Blindside is playing in Omaha tonight. It's $5. It's at Sokol Underground. They were like, what? And so we went, there were maybe 20 people there, 15 and 20 people, and the bands. And so it was a super intimate show. Like they were hanging out with everybody for all the other bands. It was Listener and Into Emo and Blindside.
Man,
And it was just this incredible show,
I,
but nobody knew about it.
I'll tell you the tour I'd like to see is the POD, Blindside, Project 86, and Lincoln
Mm.
Park on a couple
Oh,
of
yeah.
dates. And
Yeah.
nobody remembers that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was before Lincoln Park blew the
Before they
world
blew
up.
up, POD was the headliner, and
Headline.
Lincoln
Yep.
Park was they were one of
Opener,
the
I think.
openers. Yeah.
Yep. I'd love to see that show. Love to see
Oh
that.
my goodness. Especially Lincoln Park in that era
Yeah.
too. Once they established themselves and they started doing Transformers music from all the movies, I was like, it's not my thing anymore. But
No.
man, early Lincoln Park when they were fighting for it, ooh, they
Those
were
first two
tough.
albums were
Yeah.
phenomenal for what they
Yeah.
were. You know, like I said, I'm 53, so I've seen, like I said, bands come and go of all types, and Christian, secular, whatever. And it's like,
Hmm.
and then, like I said, the bands we're still listening to, Project 86, POD, still going
Yeah.
strong, but like know how it goes. There's no touring
Yeah.
especially for a Project 86.
Oh yeah.
He's stopped that, but POD keeps touring, but they're the opening act. So they're only playing 30 minutes, which for a band that's as old as they are and
Oh my
having
goodness, yeah.
the singles, they don't even get to play what you want to hear. You're hearing
Mm.
the two songs off the new album, and then you're hearing three songs that were hits,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
sad.
Uh, oh, totally. Yeah,
I
they
mean,
and like Demon Hunter is another one.
yeah.
There was a 10-year gap. They came to Omaha and I was playing a show that night and
Oh
we had already
man,
booked it and stuff and I was like, dude, they've been a bucket list band for me for years, but I've got a show. They'll be back next year. They were coming every year or every other year for a while. I was like, they'll be back. I'll see them. And then they didn't come anywhere within 5 hours of here for 10 years. And I
oh,
was like, what is happening?
believe it
And
or
so
not,
they,
two
oh,
things real quick on my wall.
yeah,
I've got a this is the office, so there's drum heads
yeah.
hanging on the wall, autograph set list, different stuff. But there's a drum head. I got a drum head from Jesse Sprinkle. You know who that is?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
The
Yes.
original drummer for POD
Mm-hmm.
for Demon Hunter,
Demon
plus
Hunter, yeah.
Poor Lou, tons of other stuff he's worked on. And then I got
Oh, yeah.
behind me, I've got a POD VIP laminate hanging up behind me. But
I've got my Demon Hunter laminate here, and then I've got a few skillet ones here hanging in my car. I got another Demon Hunter here. So
okay, I got a Demon Hunter sticker in front of me.
yeah, yeah.
But then, no, my prized possession. Striper was my first concert. October 22nd, 1988.
Mm.
I got to see him on the 30th anniversary of the To Hell with the Devil tour.
Oh,
So I've got the To Hell with the Devil CD autographed by all 4 original members.
hold up. Is it the original art?
No, I wish.
Oh,
I had it at one point on cassette,
yeah.
but I got divorced and lost a ton of stuff back in 2002 from shows I worked in the 90s.
Yeah.
But anyways, but then I got a guitar pick from Oz and Tim Gaines on it, and the show flyer autograph. But that's my prized possession because that's my band. And then I've got an autographed set list from Petra's 50th anniversary tour. But then I got drumsticks from all kinds of different people. Just like I said, I got a poster on my right that's from 2 shows. A friend, do you ever know Scott Shireman here from the area? He puts on shows here in Louisville called Rock on Water, Rock on Winter. And I got 2 shows.
Yeah,
he does. One year he did all rock. He did Disciple, Chaotic, Protest, Hush Harbor, and 3 Days Under. And then one year, and then another show he did Disciple, Chaotic, The Protest, Carrollton, and then his band Hush Harbor, and then B Wade.
Yeah.
So he gave me the big vinyl posters for the show and their autograph for helping him 1 year. So
that's the one that's sponsored by like Texas Roadhouse every year. Is that man? I want to play someplace that is sponsored by Texas Roadhouse.
Now, one of these days, if I can get this wrestling thing we've all discussed between a bunch of us, that would be a great sponsor to get for that. And have to talk to Scott. How do I get this sponsorship? Because I mean, I've talked to some of the wrestlers before with all this, and some of you guys about this, and it's like that would be a dream thing. A few years ago when I turned 50, I jokingly told some people, "Y'all need to throw something together for me," and it never happened. But but it would have been real cool. Like I said, I know so many wrestlers, I know so many bands, but the problem is with the bands to bring you guys in from as far away as you are, you gotta pay for much, and it's not cheap anymore. And the wrestlers I can get are local, which is good. I mean, you can't get no big, but I could get some guys to work a couple matches.
Oh yeah. See, that's the good thing about Pendragon. We're cheap.
Yeah, but like I said, you're in the middle of Nebraska, and I'm in Kentucky, so.
Hey, I've driven out for a lot less.
Oh, I know you have. Well, we're not going to name places. Yeah. I know you've played a couple festivals out this way just to get your name out there.
Yeah, that's part of the job.
It's the sacrifice you have to take. I mean, and plus the time off work and all that, so you have to work it all out. And then if you're dragging a family along, which I've seen you do, so, I've seen you drag the family out. I've seen band members that you tour with bring their families out. So it's good to make an adventure out of it for everybody. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
But when you got a 9 to 5, so to speak, you have to look at okay, what's the priority here?
Yeah.
So, anyways, tell us. We'll go into 13 minutes in a minute because that's not the biggest part. Now is, but you're not in the full history of it, so we're not going to draw it back out. But let's give a little bit more background on yourself for a few minutes. Get off the curfew. I was looking a couple days ago at your profile, not to be just a look, and one of the posts that you had was, "I'm a pastor, I'm a janitor, I'm a dad." It's like, man, how do you have time to even think about the story that you just talked about? It's like my mind would be wee. I mean, it's already bad enough with what I do now.
Well, the janitor position, I started working at my kid's school last year. Before that, I was running a podcast for about 12 years. No, I was working for a company for 12 years. And then in 2020, with that company, we started a relationship education podcast. So 5 of those years, I was doing that. But moving from that type of a thing where I'm pushing out content all the time to working as a janitor, The good news is I did get a little bit of a raise, and they're super flexible with my traveling when I do have to take those days off and stuff. So they work with me really well. But I when I'm fixing stuff at the school, or I'm cleaning stuff or whatever I'm doing, it leaves you a lot of time to think and plan. And so a lot of this stuff I can be working on and kind of processing through. And then when I get my breaks, I write it all down so I don't forget it. So that aspect of the job itself keeps me able to stay creative. The pastoring, I was on staff at one of the larger churches here in Omaha for a while, and it was the church that I had grown up in, and eventually was leading small groups for the youth, and then got on staff in the youth department as the youth associate. And so I did that for a while and thought that that was probably going to be like my career. And I ended up, I was only doing that part time. They could only afford to hire me on part time. And I ended up getting full time pastor, youth pastor jobs offered to me from two other churches here in town. And then my church, they couldn't give me a full time in the youth department, but they were like, we do need a production director. If you're interested, we know that you have those skills already, so we could have you move over to that position. That would be full time and all of that. And so I was like, oh man, I've always known, like, whatever I'm doing, it has to be kingdom work. And that's I can do that bivocationally. I worked as a cook, as a chef in a restaurant for a while, and or not. Chef sounds too lofty. I was a kitchen manager in a sit down type restaurant, and so yeah, not a fancy chef, but
Not a sous chef.
yeah, yeah. But I was totally fine. Like, this is my job that pays the bills, but the job needs flexibility to allow me to do ministry. And so then it was like, best of both worlds. I could be a full-time pastor, and I could have health benefits, and I could
That's
get like,
important anymore.
oh yeah, yeah. I was like, I haven't had health benefits since I moved out of my mom's house. So I
Understandable.
was like, oh yeah, this will be great. And I just felt in my spirit like God was saying, no, that's not the path that I have for you. And it was a hard thing to do, but I ended up turning down all three of the offers, even the one from the church that I was working at, and just stayed in that part-time position, but waited for God to tell me what the next move was. And it ended up being, rather than uh, moving on and getting a full-time pastor position somewhere, I ended up resigning my position, and then stepped out and started pastoring a house church. And so me and a buddy of mine, we are co-pastoring this house church. We started 8 years ago, and we've been doing that for the last 8 years. And it's been really cool seeing God use this to build discipleship and build families, and help us to just know Him more through His Word. And it was never like, we're turning our backs on the big church and putting our fists in the air or anything like that. We actually met with the pastors that I worked with well before we did it, and told them, like, this is what we feel like God's calling us to do, and had their blessing. And I left very quietly. My senior pastor, the day that he knew it was our last day, and he came up to me after the sermon and was like, today's your last day, isn't it? I was like, yeah. He was like, I would have said something. You should have reminded me. I was like, I didn't remind you because I knew you would say something. And I didn't want to like leave, because I had been a big part of the youth ministry for so long, and I had a lot of people there that I was connected to. And I didn't want to like leave and start my own thing and drag a bunch of people out of the church. I was like, no, you guys are planted here, stay here. I'm not even gonna say anything when I go. Like, I did tell the people that were like in our groups and our small group that we led, like they knew what was going on, but it didn't need to be like a whole church thing. I didn't need a send off or whatever. We wanted to just honor the pastors as we left and feel just step out and do what God was calling us to do.
Or for the not naysayers, the back pew gossip central saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
we left because of this," and it was nothing like that.
Oh, we had people thought that because we didn't say anything, there were a few people that were getting kind of nitpicky on the pastor a year or two after. And then they'd like reach out to me. It's like, I haven't talked to this person for a year. I haven't heard anything from them. But then they start like texting me, like, hey, man, let's get coffee. And then they're like, oh, I really disagree with this thing that's going on. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't leave on bad terms. Like, I still go out and get coffee with the senior pastor. Like, we are good.
Yeah,
So I'm not the guy for you to come and like air your grievances with. If you got a problem, you need to go and talk to your pastor. And if it's a legitimate like sin issue or like a biblical error or something like that, then it can be dealt with through the proper channels. But it's not going to be you coming out and gossiping with some dude that's not even a part of this body anymore, like, or this particular gathering. Like, that's not what this is. So there were a couple times when I had some clarifying conversations with people, but for the most part, it was very amicable. And it like the pastors, we stayed in good relationship with them, and it is still to this day a good relationship. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's always good to have. I mean, even with anything, the
Hmm.
stress of any kind, you want to leave it the way you found it, where it was peaceful, not hating someone, not. I mean, there's points where there's a complete dis- disconnect, but
Hmm.
especially in that kind of position, you want to be able to find somebody that you can converse with, that's not in your normal at that point normal inner circle
Yeah.
and everything. So,
Yeah.
all right, that's a lot. And then going back to and then talking about a little bit about the family. You
Yeah.
said your son joined the band within the last year. How's
Yes.
that?
Well, it's been a really good time. It's been a great season. Uh, and I loved Dave. He joined me in 2017, and he was an answer to prayer and was a brother on the road and in the studio and in ministry for a very good run. And when he told me that he needed to step out, it was like I knew that his season was coming to a close just because he had a lot of family changes. Like his wife took a new position that required him to be home more, and just different stuff like that. And so, and we've always had a rule like your family comes first in the band. We are never going to ask you to do something that compromises your relationship with your family. And if you do something on your end to hurt your family, you're gonna have problems in the band. So so we've always maintained that as a standard. And uh so when he came and told me, there was again no hard feelings at all. It was like, dude, absolutely, I get it, and I love you, and we're still brothers. And so he gave us a long runway. He told us about 6 months in advance that he was gonna need to be stepping out. He was like, I'll be able to fill out all the shows that we have for the year, and hopefully that'll give you guys time. And even if like you find somebody, if they want to sit in with us, and I can work on drum parts with them and go through things. So he was super, super helpful in that transition. But shortly before that, we had, as Nebraska is prone to do, we had some tornadoes earlier that spring. And there is a night when the other guys had come out for band practice. Dave hadn't left his house yet, and then tornado sirens start going off, and they were closer to where he was at. And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I got to stay home. I got to make sure everybody's okay." I was like, "Yeah, dude, absolutely. Don't worry about it." And so we were still at the house, and my son Emery was starting to pick up drums. And so I was like, "Emery, come up." I was like, "Hey, you know the songs well enough just to keep time. You don't have to play anything crazy, but just sit in with us and keep time and try to like hang in there and stuff, just so we have a drummer to play with." So he was like, "Yeah, okay," and he had fun with it. And it was nowhere near like perfect or even like good at that level. It was like he was able to keep time, and he knew the songs, he knew the changes, and our stuff is a little complex. So I'll give it to him. It wasn't easy to sit in like that, but he did. So when Dave said that, I wasn't thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to offer Emery this position." But we were actually out at Audio Feed, and I was talking to Moose about it, and he was like, I've been thinking Emery wasn't too bad when he came and played with us." I was like, "No, he wasn't too bad." He's like, "He's not ready. He's definitely not ready." But he was like, "I bet if he trained and he practiced in with us, like he could get there." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe." I talked to my wife about it, and I prayed with her about it and stuff. And I was like, "What do you think about this?" And I really was wanting to be careful not to do what I have seen other guys in bands do, where it's like they end up recruiting their kids into their band, and their kid never has an opportunity to go out and do their own thing and become who they're meant to be. It's like you're going to serve dad's dream, you're going to do what dad wants you to do, and you're stuck. And not that it's like mean spirited in that way, but there's a lot of like weight and a lot of guilt that can come, like, "Oh, I don't want to leave dad in the lurch," and whatever. And I was like, I never want him to feel anything like that. But I talked to my wife, and she was like, "I think it would be good for him." And she was like, I think you should at least ask him." So I went to him, and I asked him. I was like, "Hey, this is what we've been talking about." And I said, "I want you to know up front, I'm not offering you a position in the band. I'm saying, number one, is this something you would be interested in? If so, I want you to pray about it for a week and let me know at the end of a week what you feel like God wants you to do. And then, if you feel like God is opening up this door, if He's giving you a green light to do it, you can sit in with practices, you can work with Dave, you can watch him and learn from him and pick up the songs, and I'll help you out." And I was a drummer also. That was my first instrument. So I had initially taught him drums, and then I was like, "I can teach you and work with you." And so I was like, then at the end of this 6 months in January, Dave's going to be stepping out, and you can audition. And if everybody in the band agrees that you are good enough, that you're ready, then you can join and you can actually play with us. And even then, like, if I said, number one, there is a lot of weight that comes with this that you might not be thinking about. And there's different temptations that can come along with this, of just becoming prideful and thinking you're the stuff. And oh man, I get to play on stages now. I get to go to festivals, and I'm a rock star. And I told him, I was like, your your spirit and your character are far more important to me than this band. And so I'm gonna hold you accountable. And if you get to a point where you're not able to handle these things, then I'm going to have you step down from the band, and I'm okay shutting the band down. But I don't want to sacrifice you and who you become for the sake of my band. Like, it's more important for me that you grow up and you be a man of integrity and have character. And I can be done with the band tomorrow. I'm okay if that's what it is, but you're more important. So I was
Right.
like, that's rule number one. But then I also told him, number two, I never want you again to feel stuck. And you could play with us for a few years and you could get a lot of experience. And if you're playing on tour and stuff, you're probably going to become a really good drummer and you're only 15 years old. So there may come a time when you have opportunities to play with other bands, or somebody wants to bring you out on tour for their band or whatever, or sit in and play in studio and be like a session drummer. And you might have opportunities that would take you away. And I want you to know from the start that you have my full blessing to do that. You are not stuck here. And if you have an opportunity that comes down the line, I want you to do what God leads you to do. And even
Right.
if it's not playing music, if it's something completely different, if you
Well,
want to go to
just
college, whatever, like you are free. You're not chained to this thing.
that's what you
So
just
he
said.
did.
It goes back to basically what you've said with your personal life. You
Hmm.
know, same thing. You got to show. That's what you're trying to show him. The same thing what you did. Stepped away when it was time.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's smart. Very smart. Very smart. All right.
And
So so
yeah, it's been great.
yeah. I mean, it seems like it has been from what I've seen from what you've been posting. So
And he is killing it. My gosh.
well, hopefully we'll
He's
get to see
gotten
him this summer at
so good.
Kingdom Come or something.
I hope so. I put us in. I submitted us. So if enough people keep saying, "Man, I hope Pendragon comes out to KCF," they might bring us back out. So
Well, all right, and that's a trek, but still.
yeah.
All right. So we're coming up. Believe it or not, we're just shy right now of an hour. So
Mm,
let's talk a little bit. 13 minutes in this past 3 years. You wrote my song of the you and Thomas wrote
mm.
Stay, which was my song of the year last year. Um,
Thank you.
well, let's discuss how you got there, and then we'll discuss Stay and other songs that you've all released.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I've known,
okay, go ahead.
yeah, I've known Jamie since 2018, I believe. We got connected through a mutual fan on Twitter. And she was like, "You're a Christian rock band. You'd probably like this other band that's just starting up down in Oklahoma. That you guys would probably really like each other." And I looked them up and I was like, "Yeah, they're pretty good." And they had just started releasing the D45s.
Yep.
So it was before Obsessed and all of that. It was their very first single that they put out.
Well, see, I've
And I
been a
was like,
fan
"Oh
since they
yeah."
did. When they released "Mary Did You Know" in 2016, that's when I started watching or
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah, it was 2016 or so. Maybe it was early 2016, somewhere around there. Maybe 2015 when I first started following them. But I met them when they came through town here in Omaha in 2017 or 2018, and I ended up opening up for the guys. And so I just stayed in touch. We played other shows with them, played audio feed with them, and just stayed in touch with them. And I would, and I especially with back then, I always tried to promote any other Christian bands that were good, and I still do. There are bands here in Nebraska that I'm trying to connect with some of these festivals, connect them with KCF for Rock in the River in Arkansas, and I've always wanted to do that because there wasn't a whole lot of that when for us when we started. But once we were able to start to network, it was like those doors began to open up very quickly. And so I've always wanted to make sure that we leave the doors open for everybody that's coming behind us. And so with these guys, they were coming up at the same time, but I was like posting and sharing their songs every time they had a new release. I'd share their singles. And so I was just kind of from far off, just kind of cheerleading them for a while. And then when they went and had the hiatus, Jamie and I were still messaging fairly regularly. We touch base every couple months or so, and then he started Cardia Complex, and he was looking for artists to do some merch designs for him. So I was like, yeah, I can do some merch. And so I designed a shirt for him, and he ended up running with that one for a while. And so we just again stayed in touch. And when Jamie announced that they were relaunching 13 Minutes, I was really excited because I'd been a fan. And so I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be great." And he would like, "Hey man, check out this video of this guy we're auditioning. Oh, this is our practice. We're working on some new stuff." And like he'd send me stuff, send me audio files, send me videos and stuff. And so I was just really excited for it. And they did their welcome back weekend, and I was just starting to see videos and everything. And it was like the day after I get a message from Jamie, and he goes, "Dude, you're not gonna believe what's going on." I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "Well, we just had our welcome back weekend, and I found out that we're losing our singer." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, he just let me know like he's not gonna be able to do it anymore." And he's like, "We've been building up for 8 months, and now it's like we're starting from square one. I'm gonna have to find a new vocalist, or I don't know if we're gonna wrap it up or whatever." And I was just like, we talked for a bit, and I was like, "Dude, man, if we were any closer, I'd have been down there already. We've been working together a long time ago." And he was like, "Yeah, seriously," because there was a time when I was looking for a drummer, and obviously he's in Tulsa. And it's like, "Ah, man, if I was closer, I'd be working with you." I was like, "Yeah." So we were just kind of joking. I was like, "Well, if you ever decide you want to try that long distance thing, let me know." And he just messaged back, and he was like, at this point, I'm kind of thinking about it." And I was like, "Oh, well." So we got into it. We started like, okay, what would it look like? Like, is it feasible? And I knew because we were both mutual friends with Chaotic Resemblance. And I had just been
Yeah.
talking with James. I was like, how does that work? I think he's in Minnesota
Yeah.
and they're down in Oklahoma. I was like, how does that work, man? He's like, I just gotta be ready. Like they send me tracks and I'm practicing at home, and I send them tracks, and then we come together, we do rehearsal, and we hit the road. And if you just play enough shows, you don't need to practice every weekend. And I was like, oh, that's true. So, so I was like, I know those guys do it. I know it's feasible. And doing it as a vocalist is a whole lot easier than doing it as a drummer. Uh, because they can send me like full demos with those guys, all the guys that are down in Oklahoma, and then I can just add vocals on top of it. So we kind of figured out the logistics, and then it was like, all right, this is actually doable. Let's pray about it and see what God says. And again, it wasn't like, okay, pray about it, and if you want to do it, you're in. It was like, pray about it, and then I'll send you some tracks that you can record on as demos, and I'll shop it to the guys and see what they think. And so it was still kind of a little bit of an audition process. And there were other people that were wanting that position. I was not the only person. And there were people that were close. And so I I prayed about it. I talked with my wife, talked with my family, and we all prayed together because it impacts all of us. And so we spent a week praying and talking, or a month actually praying and talking about it, and felt like God was giving us the green light. And so I recorded the demos and sent them down, and they liked what they heard enough to offer me the spot. And it was early on. I went down and we spent like a weekend, like 3 or 4 day weekend with the guys, and we just crammed uh, all this rehearsal time into that weekend as much as we could. And then the next time that I came down was for, well, now it's Rozfest, but it used to be a different name. But that was my first uh, show with them, was just going out and playing. And we had an awesome time out there. And then the next thing we did was recording Stay and Cult Leader. And we went out to Arkansas and recorded those. And So it was kind of this whirlwind of, we've got a little bit of time for me to learn all the songs, get down there, run some rehearsals, do a few shows, and we're hitting the studio, and there we go.
All right. Well, like I said, I was a fan of both bands, and like I said, when I heard you were joining, I was like, man, two worlds collide that far apart. It's got to work.
Yeah.
All right. So talking about, like I said, Stay was very heartfelt. I mean, all the songs on the EP were,
Mm,
there was a lot of emotion in each song for different reasons. Stay
yeah.
really, like I said, hit home in a lot of different ways for me. That's why it was my song of the year last year.
Mm,
So talking about the process there, you have a song called Cult Leader talking about the going back to pastors that have led people astray. And then you have, and then you got Fake and Pitiful and all these great songs. I mean, I can't say that they haven't been, so, and then now
Thank you.
you've got two songs you guys just recorded or recording coming up that are being
Yeah.
released. So you're all keeping busy and going to Mexico.
Yeah.
So that's for a big, what, 4 days of playing like mini festivals, like that what it is or something like that.
It's a big festival, and it's called Exodo Fest, and we did it back in 24, and it was super cool because they bring in a bunch of American bands. I think there are like 8 to 10 American bands that went down, and then there's a ton of Mexican bands, and so it's this huge full festival, and they met us, all the bands had to fly in on the same day and meet up at the airport, and then they came and picked us up in a couple of vans, and so we're like cramming in there with all of these people plus the gear. Nobody was bringing amps and stuff, but we all had guitars. Some people had like their IEM rigs and different things like that, plus our luggage, like our clothes and stuff.
Right.
So we had to cram all of this into these vans, and so you get to make some really good acquaintances real quick there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we were crammed in there with uh, Convictions and Leper.
Oh man, that's a good, interesting mix right there.
Very much, yeah.
Uh, uh, and and that's a band. Leper's a band more people I think need to hear because they are so
Oh
unique
yeah.
for the Christian scene,
Yes.
anyways. Convictions.
Yes.
They play. I saw them. I saw them what 4 times, I think. They did the last
Mm,
time I saw them though was last fall, and they played the biggest metal festival in the world, supposedly
mm,
at
mm.
at
Did they play
Louder Than Life.
Walking?
No,
Oh,
Louder Than
okay.
Life. We're here in
Okay.
Louisville. They got Iron
Gotcha.
Maiden playing this year, and I'm gonna get my ticket for that. That's one
Oh,
of my bucket list bands that I haven't seen.
oh
So
yeah.
one of the last bands out of that era that I care to see that still sounds halfway reasonable.
Oh
Because
yeah. Yeah.
I've seen some recently that was cringy. I'm glad I didn't pay much for them.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll get ready to close up because, like I said, we're going on over an hour, and you got a kid to get home, and I got dinner to eat. So,
Yeah.
but you have open well, with 13 minutes. You have open for some not huge names now, but guys that are still going strong from the early 2000s, the new metal
Yeah.
era, as
Yeah.
everybody loves to call it. But you've opened for Josie Scott, his band, didn't
Mm,
you? Wasn't it
yeah.
a couple months ago? So I met Josie. Was it last year, the year before, somewhere? I met in the last year and a half. I know that it
Yeah.
was a pretty good show. Really nice guy. His band was really good. So, but in closing, you got first. I'll let you if you got any closing remarks, and then where do people find you and find the
Yeah.
bands and such like that.
Yeah. Well, coming up soon, our next show is going to be Faith Stock down in Arkansas, and you'll get to see both bands.
Oh man, busy week for you.
Yeah, Pendragon's playing and 13 Minutes is playing. 13 Minutes is headlining. So I'm not Pendragon's not the opener, but we're like third on the list.
Damn.
And so I'm kind of opening for myself a little bit, but but it's going to be a great time. And then we actually just got word maybe yesterday. We're going to be playing with Wolves at the Gate in Oklahoma City. And they're touring with Convictions and Heal the Hurt. And
That would be a good show if it would come through here. I'd love to see that.
my goodness, yeah, that's a show that I would want to go and just watch, and to be able to actually get on the bill and share the stage. We played with Wolves at the Gate couple years ago, was it? Or maybe it was last year. I don't know. We played with Wolves when they did uh, Chains Unchained,
Yeah.
and they're just incredible. And so, the bands of yesteryear, Deliverance was the headliner for that,
I
and
love me
oh
some
my
Denver.
gosh, oh, incredible. So yeah, we're gonna be hitting the road, and we've got festivals lined up. We've got some shows already booked out through the summer with 13 Minutes. Pendragon, we are just about to release we've got a single coming out on Friday, which is a love song. So that's super special, just
See,
in
I would have
time for
thought you'd take
Valentine's.
them. I thought you would wait to Valentine's to put that one out, but that's me.
Well, I could wait until Valentine's Day, or I could put it out like a week ahead so that people are like, oh, this song isn't crap, and then I can play it for my sweetheart on Valentine's Day.
Okay. I'll give you. You
So
win.
yeah, so we've got that one. We've got one more single that's going to be released uh, towards the end of March or beginning of April, and then in May is when the Titans album will be officially released, and you can stream it everywhere and all that cool stuff. With 13 Minutes, we've got a couple songs that we did just record a few weeks ago, and the early responses we're getting on these are, this is the best work 13 Minutes has ever done. And oh man, like, again, it's cool for me as a fan of the band, because I in Pendragon, I write all of the music, I write the lyrics, I pretty much handle all of that side of things. And the guys, they'll tweak and they'll make it their own, but it's like I write everything. With 13 Minutes, it's a collaboration. And so I'm working with these other guys, and it's just cool hearing what they come up with and seeing like an idea that Thomas has that comes to fruition, and the then I'm able to get in there and work on lyrics, and melody is a big part of what I do, is like really working with structures and all of that. We've got a great producer, Kevin, down at Reach in Missouri, and he kills it, just knocks it out of the park, and makes it very easy for us to do our best work. So I appreciate him a ton. So we've got, both bands have new music that's going to be coming out, and 13 Minutes is going to be recording again, probably late summer, early fall time, and we'll have more new music even before the end of the year. So both bands are just coming out full guns blazing, and we're really excited, and we're very grateful, because none of this is promised, none of this is expected, but it's a continual blessing from God that he allows us to do these things and to play music and do it with the goal and with the mission of furthering his kingdom and reaching people with the truth of the gospel, the hope of Christ, and the love of God. So that's the greatest blessing in doing any of this, is that we actually get to be a part of what God is doing in the world. So that's great.
I'm right there, 100% behind you there. Like I said, I'm looking forward to hopefully see either band or both. Like I said, KCF this summer will be awesome. But we'll find
I'm
out
hoping.
hopefully shortly that what Chris and crew and A1A decide to do this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm really hoping so. Usually they will let the bands know, they start getting all their decisions made by like mid to late February, I think, is when we've
Yeah,
started
something
hearing
like
stuff
that.
from.
Yeah, first part of
So,
March, I think, is when everybody, the
mhm,
main acts for the weekend are addressed, and then slowly go down the chain. And
yeah.
but that's 3 days of what? That's what typically I think 60 bands over 3 days, which ain't
Oh my goodness.
I mean that's the year I went when I first met you. My goal, I sent out a message. I said, "How many set lists can I get out of the bands?" I think that weekend it was 40 bands played, and I ended up with 32 set lists for the
Yeah.
weekend. All right, got one last question.
Yes, sir.
I teased this last week. Why the mask?
Why the mask? The big reason it's a two-part, and I'll go quick. The first part is it references that story, and it causes people to ask the question of why is this guy wearing a mask on stage? That's weird. Why is one guy wearing a mask and not everybody? Why is a mask their logo? Like it begs the question, which gives us opportunity to have conversations afterwards. But it also, uh, if they want to find out, like if they just see pictures or see videos and then they want to find out, well, then that causes them to dig deeper into it. And so that's the whole point for us is like it should be a doorway for somebody. If you want to know, it's there. There are answers there. You can find them, and you can find podcast interviews, and there is a book forthcoming. The comic book is probably still a ways off, but the writing I can still work on writing a little bit. So I do have a full novel style of the first album that I'm working on, that story. So that one will be released when I finish it. But that's the first part. But the second part of it, in a practical sense, when I started the band, I never wanted it to be about me. I never wanted it to be built on me and like, oh, this is Jerrod and he's so special or anything like that. And so I was like, if I wear a mask, then the band can exist without me because anybody else who can sing can put the mask on. They can carry the character, they can carry the story and the music, and I don't have to be like the be all end all of the band. So if God ever calls me away, but the guys want to keep going, somebody else can take the mask, somebody else can sing the songs and continue this. And it doesn't have to be stopped just because I'm no longer a part of it. And that was, again, something from the very beginning that I intentionally wanted it to be like this, that it is not me.
It's
So,
interesting you say that because there's two other bands out there that both wear masks, and there's that same kind of concept.
mhm.
So, all right. In closing, where can we find the bands and yourself online?
Well, you can find the bands for 13 minutes. I believe it's 13 minutes official, but you have to look up XIII. It's Roman numerals and not 12 minutes, not XII. People get lazy and they forget the last one. It's XIII minutes, and you'll be able to find us on all the socials. You'll find us on Spotify and on um Apple Music and all the different places. Pendragon is IAT Pendragon. The letters IAT and then Pendragon, Pendragon. And that's all our socials. And again, you can find us on Spotify, on Apple Music, on all the different things. You can also just, if you want to follow me or you want to I am doing more writing as well, ministerial type stuff, speaking about things in the church. So I just started a Substack and launched my first article last week. And so you can find that either by searching Jerrod Cunningham, Jerrod Cunningham on Substack, or the title of the forum is Notes from the Janitor's Closet. So you can find my stuff, my writings there as well. So that's where I'm at.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Jerrod. I appreciate everything you've done for me over the years, continually. I'll, like I said earlier, we'll support each other, keep as we go forward, and I'll just be
Absolutely.
sharing that new song on my next playlist that I'm slowly working on. That I wish more people would get involved with because I've got 5,000 people I'd love to share it with. So,
Yeah.
all right, my man. Be safe. Thank you
Thank
again. I appreciate everything.
thank you,
Yeah,
brother.
no problem. We'll be in touch.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
All right, man. Rock on.
You too.
All right, man.